I will give the floor now to His Excellency Ambassador Pierre-Louis Lawrence from the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg. You have the floor, Ambassador.
Thank you. Monsieur le Président,
Mr. Chairperson, Mr. Director General, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, allow me to state that Luxembourg fully aligns itself with the statement delivered yesterday by His Excellency Ambassador Jacek Belitsa, Principal Advisor and Special Envoy for Non-Proliferation and Disarmament of the European Union. Let me congratulate you, Mr. Chairman, Ambassador Eduardo Ibarrola Nicolin of Mexico for your election to the chair, and assure you of the cooperation of my delegation along the deliberations of this conference. I would like to thank your predecessor, Her Excellency Ms. Mrdan Korac of Croatia, for her work as chairperson of the 19th Conference of States Parties. I would also like to seize the opportunity to thank His Excellency Mr. Francesco Azzarello, President of the Executive Council, as well as the Bureau for their important work. Thanks also to you, Director General, for the tireless efforts which you and the Technical Secretariat deliver day after day in order to get our world ever closer to the goal of a world free of chemical weapons. Mr. Chairperson, we have come a long way. The Chemical Weapons Convention stands unequaled as the most successful disarmament convention so far, being the sole international instrument to verifiably ban an entire category of weapons of mass destruction and edging ever closer to universality. Indeed, Luxembourg warmly welcomes the two new states parties to the convention, Myanmar and Angola. Congratulations for this important achievement towards and this extra step towards universality. The Chemical Weapons Convention is the strongest and most effective such convention. In fact, it has teeth, so to speak, as it imposes a strong verification regime allowing thorough inspections of states parties' declared chemical weapons arsenals, stockpiles, and facilities. Consequently, it is the only convention that has given rise to a world-class organization, the OPCW, which today can pride itself not only in top expertise and capacities, but also of a serious track record of disarmament missions in the field, as for instance today in Syria under extreme conditions while witnessing a grueling civil war. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I will now continue in English.
Deservedly, the OPCW has received the Nobel Peace Prize in 2013 in recognition of its contributions to international peace and security. Furthermore, this year, at the commemoration of the centenary of the first use of chemical weapons on a massive scale during World War I, states parties have adopted the Ypres Declaration, which condemns the use of these terrible weapons by anyone, anywhere, and under any circumstances. This declaration is yet another piece in a long list of statements of condemnation in the strongest terms of any use of any toxic chemical as a weapon. Yet, threat to the use of chemical substances as weapons remain real, and we witness this dramatic reality on a recurrent basis in Syria. Indeed, the shocking reports reaching us from Syria remain a dark reminder that chemical products and substances continue to be used as weapons on a systematic and repeated basis. Some actors still consider them a weapon to use, despite being a blatant violation of international law and amounting to a crime against humanity, as well as a war crime under the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. Luxembourg stands firm in condemning all use of chemical weapons in Syria and expresses its grave concern about the findings of the fact-finding mission reports. Also, the joint UN OPCW mission has been a huge success, removing under the most dangerous of circumstances and within very tight deadlines an entire chemical weapons stockpile out of Syrian territory and destroying 98% of the declared chemical substances so far. We continue to be faced with a grim reality. The fact-finding mission's reports have repeatedly confirmed that the alleged incidents in the Idlib province in March 2015 likely involved the use of one or more toxic chemicals, including chlorine, as a weapon. Witnesses have highlighted the invariable presence of helicopters during the attacks, a military asset which only the Syrian government possesses. Clearly, this is a breach of both the Chemical Weapons Convention and the UN Security Council Resolution 2118. These atrocious acts cannot go unpunished. Furthermore, the fact-finding mission has confirmed with utmost confidence that during an incident in the town of Maria in the Aleppo Governorate on 21st August 2015, at least 2 people were exposed to sulfur mustard, and that it is very likely that the effects of sulfur mustard resulted in the death of an infant. These incidents are extremely worrying and compelling, thus underlining the importance of the Executive Council decision taken at its 50th meeting on 23rd November 2015, unanimously condemning all use of chemical weapons in Syria and expressing grave concern about the findings of the fact-finding mission. In light of the UN Security Council Resolution 2209, which condemns the use of chlorine as a chemical weapon in Syria as a violation of both the UN Security Council Resolution 2118 and of the Chemical Weapons Convention, Luxembourg calls on the Syrian Arab Republic to extend their full cooperation to the OPCW fact-finding mission. Further light must be shed on these incidents and the perpetrators must be brought to justice. That is why, thanks to the adoption of UN Security Council Resolution 2235, Luxembourg places very high hopes in the successful establishment of the joint investigative mechanism in order to identify, in close cooperation with the fact-finding mission, the perpetrators of chemical attacks in Syria. Perpetrators of crimes of such a magnitude and cruelty must face consequences and cannot go unpunished. Also, we remain concerned that outstanding questions have yet to be adequately addressed by the Syrian regime. Serious discrepancies surround both declared and undeclared stockpiles and storage facilities. We expect the OPCW to investigate fully the inconsistencies in Syrian declarations. As long as questions remain on both the veracity of Syria's declaration as well as the continuing use of chemical weapons, Syria cannot claim to be in full compliance with its obligations to the Chemical Weapons Convention, the United Nations, and the international community. Luxembourg therefore urges Syria to cooperate fully with the declaration assessment team in a transparent, honest, and timely manner, so that we can close this chapter once and for all. Luxembourg reiterates its call on the Syrian Arab Republic to take the necessary measures to ensure that its chemical weapons program is completely and irreversibly eliminated. In the same vein, the Syrian Arab Republic must provide sufficient and adequate evidence in order to clarify all discrepancies in the Syrian initial declarations. Finally, Luxembourg continues to believe that the Syrian Arab Republic, as a state party to the Chemical Weapons Convention, is solely responsible for meeting the costs arising from the elimination of its chemical weapons program and the verification thereof. Syria must meet its obligations under the Chemical Weapons Convention. In this respect, Luxembourg supports the EU decision of February 2014 to encourage the use of frozen Syrian funds in order to pay for the destruction effort and related verification activities. Mr. Chairman, despite the recent accession, as mentioned in the beginning, of Myanmar and Angola, the ultimate goal of the Chemical Weapons Convention remains unfulfilled until this day. 3 states continue to stay outside these internationally accepted rules and norms. This remains a challenge to international peace and security. Luxembourg strongly supports the objective of universality of the Chemical Weapons Convention and therefore renews its call upon the 3 remaining states to make every effort to sign and ratify as soon as possible. important stocks and arsenals of chemical weapons remain. I wish to seize this opportunity to urge those states that are still in the process of destroying the declared chemical weapons stockpiles to do everything in their power to make further progress in the destruction process in view of ridding the world of these prohibited weapons as soon as possible. Finally, Luxembourg welcomes the Hague Ethical Guidelines addressed to chemistry practitioners to support awareness of ethical norms for scientific research and development. Mr. Chairman, in view of the 2018 review conference and in light of the current status of the Convention as a landmark disarmament instrument, please allow me to briefly mention the challenges that lie ahead of us. When we look at the world today and consider the worrying developments in the international security environment, we must recognize a deepening mistrust and the rise of tensions between states, a growing number of terrorist activities which do not respect national borders and whose cruelty shocks the world, and in several respects, international law, treaties and conventions are under threat, as some states have violated several provisions of such important instruments which form the basis of our international community of states. Considering these developments, the next review conference must serve as an occasion to reaffirm our commitment to international law as a fundamental basis of the international community of states. It is crucial to achieve a common perspective on what world we wish to live in, a place where states honor their commitments and respect international laws and norms, thereby strengthening mutual trust and further international cooperation rather than confrontation. This convention has made a decisive contribution in this respect and must be further strengthened to maintain its relevance in today's world. Over the years, the OPCW has become an effective organization, accumulating extensive expertise and competences. These must, at all costs, be protected and preserved. And the organization's work must imperatively continue to follow ongoing developments. Considering today's terrorist threat, it is important to extend the organization's work towards the prevention of the abuse of chemical products and substances as weapons, as well as their diversion away from peaceful purposes. Mr. Chairperson, in conclusion, allow me to stress that Luxembourg is looking forward to working with all delegations in a constructive and open manner at this conference, and that we trust that it will be a success. I would like to request this statement to be considered an official document of the 20th session of the Conference of State Parties and be published on the OPCW website and external server. Merci, Monsieur le Président. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Merci. Thank you, Ambassador.